What is going on, everybody? Welcome. So today's video is a little different because I'm not out looking for filming locations and I'm not out looking for anything else in particular. So with that being said, today's video is about my personal top 5 favorite movies of all time. Now each one of these movies has something very special to me and I'm going to tell you why. Number 5, John Wick. Now I do realize that these movies are a trilogy and I'm going to combine all three into one, making them my top 5. Now, when John Wick 3 Parabellum came out, I found online through a friend that they were doing an event called the John Wick Road Trip. Now, what that is they had like a tour bus and they were going around to a bunch of different Best Buys for the release of the DVD. Now, on this tour bus thing, they had a bunch of props from the movie. They had the blood medallion, they had costumes, they had just different props from the movie. And they also had John Wick's very own Mustang. And they had a virtual experience where you get on this motorcycle and there was a green screen behind you. And when they took the video, it put you in this little video of you fighting off a bunch of bad guys coming after you on a motorcycle, as seen in John Wick 3. Now, they gave out t-shirts, they gave out buttons, they gave out posters. I got a poster and a button and a shirt, and this is what the shirt looks like. John Wick Road Trip. Hashtag John Wick Road Trip. And on the back, it has all of the tour dates. And I went to the one in Columbus, Ohio. Because Columbus is about 30 minutes from my house. It was at the Best Buy in Reynoldsburg off of Bryce Road. And I think that that movie is special to me because that was kind of like a one-time deal of getting to experience something just like a movie. So I would put that as my number 5 for this video. Number 4, Beetlejuice. Who hasn't seen Beetlejuice? Who hasn't heard the word Beetlejuice, let alone say it 3 times? So, Beetlejuice. I have loved that movie as a kid. I love it as an adult. I have dressed up as Beetlejuice one too many times for Halloween. I have a bunch of Beetlejuice stuff. I love the movie because it is funny. I can recite the movie like crazy. I know just about every line. I could say it around every single family member of mine, and they would just completely go with the whole entire thing. So that movie is special to me because it lets me relate to my family. And when I would dress up as Beetlejuice for Halloween, and I'll show you guys a picture. So Beetlejuice is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I would be very surprised. But if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Beetlejuice, just don't say it 3 times. And if you do, well, you might have a bit of a problem on your hands. Coming in at number 3, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Now, this movie came out a year before I was born, 1991. I was born in 1992. The reason that Terminator 2 is special to me is because Terminator 2 is like the first movie that I actually connected with. Just great story, great characters, and I've actually met the T-1000 Terminator, and I'll show you guys a picture. It's one of those movies that I watched, you know, numerous times growing up as a kid. I know a lot of the lines. I think it had probably one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. I had a bunch of Terminator figures growing up, and still to this day, I could watch Terminator 2 Judgment Day and not get tired of it. It's one of those movies, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's just an all-around great movie. As far as I know, as far back as I can remember watching that movie, I remember being so little and going downstairs in our basement, getting a VHS tape out and putting in Terminator 2 and just sitting there watching it, and then Bad to the Bone comes on, Arnold drives off on the motorcycle, and then they end up getting into the fight and all that stuff. And there was one scene in particular that did scare me as a kid, but doesn't really scare me much anymore. But Terminator 2, definitely one of my favorite movies. Go check it out. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious. Now, this movie came out in 2001. I was 9 years old at the time. Now, I was introduced to this movie by my brother. I remember sitting in the basement, and he came in and he said, "Hey, you need to watch this movie." I said, "Okay." So he went to put the movie in. And keep in mind, we had the VHS copy at the time because DVDs weren't much of a thing yet. So I watched this entire movie. I gotta say, right off the bat, the only car that I fell in love with throughout that entire movie was Brian's Eclipse. So at the beginning of it, you see him at Dodger Stadium, which is, if you notice in a lot of my videos, you see me wearing an LA hat. Well, being that that car is my favorite car of all time, a couple years ago, I took a trip down to Gatlinburg to a couple car museums. Now, these car museums had 2 hero cars from the movie. The first car is at Rusty's Car Museum. This car in particular was the car used in the scene at Dodger Stadium, which is why I love anything Dodgers related and the Eclipse. That's what started my entire love with that car and the movie. And the second car is at the Hollywood Star Cars Museum in Gatlinburg. Now, I got to sit in both of these cars, but I gotta say, sitting in the first car, the one used in the scene at Dodger Stadium, you know, the car had little NOS buttons and all that. Just sitting in the car was an unbelievable experience of mine that will forever hold a special place in my heart. Now, I remember being like, oh God, I don't even know. Like around the time that movie came out, the soundtrack came out. And I remember sitting on the bus on my way home, and I had my headphones on and my CD and a little CD player, and I was listening to the Furious song by Ja Rule. And I remember like saying the words, and in the song he says F you. And I didn't say it at the time because I was too little, but good soundtrack to the movie. And another reason why this movie is very special to me is because last year it gave me the chance to fly out to LA. I flew out to LA for a car show called In Memory of Paul. This car show was put on by the family members and Paul Walker's charity known as Reach Out Worldwide. As soon as I found out about this, I immediately bought tickets and I flew out to LA. I got to see the Toretto House, and I got to see a couple of other filming locations of where they filmed The Fast and the Furious. So I went to this car show, and they had some cars from the movie and stuff, and then they called up for the VIPs to go over to the VIP area. Now, I got a couple pictures with Paul Walker's family. Cody Walker, Caleb Walker, and Paul Walker III, Paul's dad. This will be something that I will forever hold in my heart and something that will forever be with me because I have a tattoo of this movie on myself. Yes, I said it, a tattoo. Check this thing out. Beginning of the movie, the race between Brian, Dom, a couple other people. Check this out. It says, "Dude, I almost had you." This is the Eclipse, Dom's RX-7, and one of my all-time favorite scenes from the movie. And it'll always be with me because that movie has not only impacted me in a great way, but I have to say that Paul Walker has become sort of a role model for me in more ways than I can even think. Now, Paul passed away 6 years ago coming up. He died in a car wreck, and ever since I've donated to his charity. And if you get anything out of this video, all I ask is that you please go check out Reach Out Worldwide. Maybe even donate if you want to. Completely up to you. But this is why the Fast and the Furious will always be forever with me and a part of my life that will never go away. And last but certainly not least, my all-time #1 favorite movie, Jaws. I can't even begin to tell you why this is my favorite movie. It's just, like, in my opinion, probably one of the greatest horror movies ever made. I don't even... Could you consider it horror? Yeah. It's scary. It's got some scary parts to it. Who doesn't know Jaws? And still to this day, Jaws still makes people scared to go to the ocean. Go on the beach. I personally can vouch for that because when I was about 14 years old, my dad took me to Myrtle Beach for the first time ever. It's my first time seeing the ocean. Well, what does myself do? With my cell phone, I downloaded the Jaws theme song. Okay, so there's #1. And 2, when we went to the beach, I wouldn't go in. I went in maybe 3 feet deep, ankle to, knee deep. It's as far as I go out. So my dad's off in the distance, and he's just out, 5, 6 feet deep, having a good old time. I'm like, nope, not me. But the reason why Jaws is so special to me is because Jaws started my love for the ocean. Now, I think the ocean is a very, very interesting place. For some people, it calms them. For some people, it's a getaway. For me, it's a great place to be around. There's so much to learn from the ocean. It's crazy. And another reason why Jaws is my favorite movie is because it started my love for sharks. Every time I go to an aquarium, I will not leave this shark place. I know there's a bunch of other places you can go in aquariums and the zoo and all that stuff. Like Columbus Zoo is probably 45 minutes from my house. I don't care about anything else in the zoo besides the shark aquarium. I've been to the Ripley's Believe It or Not aquarium with the shark tunnel. That's my favorite place to go. So it started a love for sharks that has been with me since as far as I can remember. I remember being a little baby in a bathtub and playing with my little sharks and like putting a little dorsal fin on top of the water and like being in a pool and having a little shark helmet and just swimming around the pool thinking I was a freaking shark. I mean, I love sharks so much that I even have one tattooed on me. Jaws has become my favorite movie of all time, and this is my tattoo. This is Jaws. This is the scene of the Indianapolis speech. Shout out to my friend Bishop who did my tattoo probably 4 years ago, I think. Yep. So you should see the looks that I get from people when I go to the beach. So a couple years ago I went to the beach and I had this tattooed on me. And I'm laying there catching some rays, and I happened to look up and I saw this older couple looking at me. And this older guy, he goes, "Let me see your ink." So I turned around and I showed him my shark. He goes, "Oh man, I really like that and stuff." And I even had on Jaws swim trunks, if that tells you anything. But yeah, Jaws will always be my favorite movie of all time. It has given me a love for the ocean. It has given me a love for sharks. Every time Shark Week is on, I do not miss it. And next to Jaws, my next favorite shark movie is Deep Blue Sea. Those two movies, that's it. I don't do the 47 meters down. I don't do anything else like that. What the hell is a Sharknado? Never gonna watch it. But yeah, if you know Jaws, you know Jaws. If you can quote the movie, because I can quote the movie too. I love it. Every time I'm around the water, it's like amazing. But if you're a lover of Jaws, or if you're a lover of any of these movies that I have mentioned, give this video a thumbs up. And in the comment section down below, let me know what your favorite movie is. Let me know what movie has inspired you. Let me know what movie is very important to you. I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing some of these answers. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because it was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys learned something new about myself. So take care, guys, and I will see you guys later.